On.
Hi there, guys. I'm going to give you a little recap of the notes that we took today on how we classify matter, the classification of matter. We learned on Friday about the chemical and physical changes in matter, and matter is what we study in chemistry. Remember that matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, so has mass and volume. Chemists study matter, and we want to understand matter, what matter is, the changes that take place in matter. But we also need to understand how we classify matter. So there are two categories, if you will, of matter. We have mixtures and we have pure substances. Let's first look at what a mixture is. A mixture is a blend of two or more substances. We can call those pure substances up here, pure substances. And so you blend them or mix them together. Mixtures can be separated to their original components through physical processes or physical changes. So things like filtration, distillation, where you boil the substance, the mixture to their various boiling points and separate them that way. Magnetism, so if something is magnetic, you can separate it from a mixture of other things that might not be magnetic. But when you separate things physically, then you keep the integrity of their chemical composition. You do not undergo a chemical change. All mixtures can be separated physically. There's two types of mixtures. We have homogeneous mixtures. Let me get my pen tools here. So we can have a homogeneous mixture and we can have a heterogeneous mixture. Well, the prefix homo means same. So homogeneous mixtures are also known as solutions. They have a completely uniform composition. So they have the same composition throughout. They exist in one phase, so a single phase. Some examples of homogeneous mixtures that you would be familiar with is like the air in the room. So you look around you at the air around you and you don't see the oxygen and the nitrogen separate. It all looks the same. It's homogeneous. Salt water, when I dissolve salt in water completely, it's going to be in one phase. You're not going to see the salt crystals separate from the water. It will totally dissolve. Brass is a solution basically of two metals that have been melted and then mixed together and allowed to solidify. The homogeneous means the same throughout. And we have a heterogeneous mixture. Hetero, the prefix hetero, means it has a variable composition or a different. You see the different parts of it very clearly. Heterogeneous mixtures will separate upon standing. Like with paint or with your blood, like when you think about if you've ever given blood, they have to keep the bag of blood on like a rocker because they need to keep it mixed thoroughly. If they didn't, the red blood cells would settle out to the bottom and your clear plasma layer would be up top. Anytime it will separate upon standing is considered heterogeneous. Italian salad dressing, vegetable soup, even whole milk that has the fat in it, the fat will rise to the top. Raisin bran, all these are heterogeneous mixtures. So let's think about this for a second. Pause the video and you try to answer these questions and then pick up and see how you did. Your blood is heterogeneous. Remember I said it would separate out upon standing. Motor oil, you should have said homogeneous. It does not separate out. It's in one single phase. Creamy peanut butter. You may or may not have ever noticed, but if you let peanut butter sit for a while, the peanut oil will rise to the top. So Creamy peanut butter is going to be heterogeneous. How can you separate the following mixtures? These are mixtures that can be separated, remember, physically without changing the components to different substances. We'll discuss these in class a little more in detail tomorrow. Let's move on. Your pure substances. This is the other category under matter. Pure substances will either be elements or compounds. Let's first talk about the elements. Elements are defined as the simplest form of matter that can exist under normal conditions. These are the building blocks of all matter. They cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical or physical means. Some examples of just elements are carbon, for example, or the element sodium by itself. That's an element or an atom of sodium. Nitrogen, helium. These are all elements. Now, when these elements come together and combine chemically, that's when they form a compound. This is the other type of pure substance. Compounds are two or more elements chemically combined. That means they can only be chemically separated. So substances that can be separated into simpler substances only through a chemical reaction is a compound. So like NaCl, you see both the sodium and the chlorine. That's a compound. Water, H2O, iron 2 sulfide, FeS, carbon dioxide. When these come together, these elements come together, they form a brand new substance with brand new chemical characteristics. They're chemically bonded, so you can only separate them chemically. So let's recap. Matter. Matter can be separated into two subcategories, mixtures and pure substances. Now the mixtures can be either homogeneous or they can be heterogeneous. Mixtures are separated physically. Pure substances can be broken down into two categories as well, elements and compounds. Elements cannot be broken down by any process, chemical or physical. Compounds can be broken down chemically. I do want to add that all of your pure substances are considered homogeneous forms of matter, which means they're all going to be pure or the same throughout. Okay, that's our recap of our lesson for today. We'll see you in class tomorrow.